Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Easter, I think it is. Let me know in the chat that the chat's working. Let's have a look. See who's here. Okay. Hey, Greg. Good morning. Hey, Charles. So a massive thank you to everyone who has been identifying the spammers in the group. So if this is your first time coming into the group, this is why I stress about like reading the welcome post and figuring out where things are in the group before worrying about where the trades are. Because there's 3 separate posts that I've put about how spammers get you. And unfortunately, there's nothing that directly I can do from stopping spammers from joining the group. But the only way that they'll get you is in your DMs, okay? And so far, I haven't heard of any spammers that have been impersonating any of the team in DMs because it's incredibly difficult to do and it's very easy to verify. Yeah, I mean, because it's generally this product called Prometheus, right? So it's like if you are buying something that we don't sell from somebody you don't know in your DMs, well, that's kind of one of the messages that I put in the post there. Like, you got to be vigilant. And there's some other Twitter messages that I've given as examples as well. Like, there was somebody in the group posted, it was Ryan. Oh, I forget his name now, but he was eagle-eyed. He was eagle-eyed because somebody posted an X account and was pretending to be Scott. And when we looked at it, instead of like the figure 1, they've like replaced it with an I. You know, it's like this is what scammers do. They replace something so small and so easy that unless you really are paying attention, you're going to get caught out. And paying attention. Hey, David, we're just doing a quick run on spammers and safety. We'll get to the fun stuff in just a second. But yeah, a lot of spamming stuff is about really, it's about paying attention to detail. If you get a Twitter message from somebody that you're not expecting, fuck me, Scott just X'd me, if you know what I mean. I've never spoken to him before, but now he's in my DMs offering. You got to check out all of these links. You just got to be vigilant and careful and don't buy dumb shit off of people you don't know in the DMs that have got nothing to do with us. So you want to flag them for banning or you want to send a message to support. And I know it's a bit of a whack-a-mole, but we can just keep getting them out and keep getting them out.
And that's a good one, Ian. And so people also want to reiterate that people will not get any DMs from me whatsoever, and I don't get, and I, you know what I mean, like I don't have any activated based on that reason. So if you want to ask questions, something, just post something on the in the group, right? And then that will be the best way to get help.
It is, yeah. And just, you know, it's like there's got to be, this is where you need Scott and one of his killer heuristics, right? Because it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like if somebody turns up and says, "All right, mate, can I give you 10 grand?" Well, there's no red flags here at all. Yeah, please hand the money over, if you know what I mean. It's like people just don't go around giving you shit for free. But greed takes over, and then we can't see anything, you know. And this is where we can get caught out. I mean, in general, I think a lot of general spamming texts now, not crypto specific, they hit on these kind of core emotions. Like this text messages like "help, I'm in trouble," you know, or stuff like this to get that automatic kind of reaction from you. So yeah, let's just all stay on our game, keep reporting the spammers, keep banning them, and yeah, we'll do our best. Right. So we're lucky enough to have David Holt with us again today, who is the mastermind behind trading of the vault, and David's going to give us a little bit of update, a little bit of education, a little bit of whatever he fancies throwing in. So if you've got any vault questions, fire them in the chat now. The floor's yours, David. Great to have you here.
Awesome. Yep. Figured I'd pop in again this week and kind of tell you guys what we've been up to. So for the first part of the week, we kind of set our positions up and we kind of sat on them for a while. Now I mentioned last week that we'd started throwing in a few elements from our momentum system as well, because I know like once we opened up the vault initially and then people take a big hit. We wanted to try to start kind of recouping that, and we thought that was the best way to sort of add a little bit of extra oomph to the strategy. So we took we went biased slightly long, and we held a couple different positions on that for the first several days of the week. Rebalance here towards the end of it, and overall things are going well. So a lot of the stuff that we're pairing the longs and the shorts against each other, right? Um, and a lot of the longs this week kind of look like they really, really want to squeeze upwards. So we're kind of I was talking with Scott about this earlier. We're kind of hoping that like this next week, over this next week, not only do we get paid from our funding trades on the trades, but we start getting a little bit of extra payment from the longs that we're in right now. Outperforming what they normally would on that balance. So that's kind of where we're at and what we've been doing. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and last week's call, and also inside the actual vault group itself, David goes deeper into the mechanism behind the mechanism behind it. There's a lot of wiggly lines. I understand the mechanism, but then I get to that. How do I explain this to somebody that has got no idea about what the carry trade is? And then I cut myself off there and say, go watch the 45-minute video that's inside of the group and have the expert walk you through it from there. It's fascinating stuff. Nice. Let's just check if there's any questions, and then I think we've taken enough of your valuable time, David. So Marlon, yeah, it is easy to fall for a scam, man. I mean, I was pressing links left, right, and center when I started in this game. But yeah, okay. So Kevin says, hey, David, hope things are looking up. I think things are looking pretty good.
Yep. So we think so.
Here's a good question from Sean. Even though it's down, would it still be a good time to put money in right now, or do you think he should hold off?
So because of what the strategy is, right? We've talked about this before, where we have an expectation for how the strategy is going to perform. Sometimes it's going to outperform that. Sometimes it's going to underperform that. Obviously, when we first opened it, it underperformed massively and in a bad way. But at the same time, the expectation of how it performs on average over time never really changes. So if this is something that you think is a good idea and you want to put your money in, there's never really a bad time, better time, or worse time. It's just, because we're operating on the same expectation the whole time. That doesn't really change. That doesn't really change conditional. That was kind of a long way to say, like, if you're looking to put the money in, then yes, we're going to be constantly putting it to work. Same now as we will be in a month or 3 months. Yeah. So.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I think that's it for the questions. So thank you. Thank you again. And thank you for being the person that's looking after that vault, man. Helps me sleep easy at night. All right, nice. So I'll just answer a couple of the other questions that related to the vault. I can handle them. So Miles, yeah, for sure. I hope it recovers before we blow the account. I mean, that's what we're all here for, the same thing, Miles, okay? And David doesn't get paid unless this produces profit. So, everybody.
I'm still working on it, so I still think it's coming.
Yeah, everybody's in this for the same thing. Michael, any news on FinRev on Hyperliquid? I found out today that we're going to be having a call on Friday, Michael. So come along to the FinRev call on Friday. Scott will be putting the email out. I haven't got any inside information on what Scott is going to say. And Michael Ritchie, you know Scott, I'm not going to be able to get him to give me any unless he wants to. So yeah, I'll see you on Friday from there. Okay. Dane Robertson took some money out of the vault and put it back in after the tariff hit is not so prevalent. Looking forward to some points in there. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to answer this as if I was Scott, right? How are you going to know that, man? It's like you're making a bet there that you can read the minds of the global politicians. And it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. But I think just going back to what David said about us having an outcome that we're going for, it doesn't affect, whether you put in now or kind of put in then. So up to you, but that's not an easy strategy. Miles Bevan, do we
It
need
will make a difference. It's just we won't. There's no way to know which way the difference will be, whether it'll be good or bad ahead of time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I saw somebody ask if it's possibly to watch trades as they happen. Yeah. So as like every trade that we put into the vault, it shows up live. Like you can go to the Hyperliquid the vault page and see what the positions are and see when they update or change. So it does show live. I don't know if there's like maybe a few seconds delay. I don't know how fast Hyperliquid like updates that page, but yeah.
Nice. Is there any reason that the system will stop me from putting more money in? Yes, there is, Trevor. Yeah. As the vault owner, we have to keep a 5% reserve in the vault. So obviously money can come into the vault and we can't just put an infinite amount of money in the vault to begin with. So when we reach that 5% limit, the vault will make you aware of it and then make support aware of it, and then decisions get made from there. But I believe that you can. I haven't heard anybody say that you can't top up at the moment. So Michael Ritchie, no, it's not the AMA this Friday. It's going to be a FinRev thing that Scott's doing, but the AMA, it's literally around the corner. The updates have been released, like for the gold and the platinum, and we wanted to get them out there and really keep Tim on and the Geek Squad just shackled to those chairs and working 24/7 on stuff like, the Hyperliquid connection and yada, yada, yada. So we've just shuffled a few things around, but the AMA is coming. Okay.
I'll let you guys go ahead and get on with the rest of your call, but I wanted to pop in some updates, y'all. Make sure we answered any questions. So,
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, David. Can we schedule a call to help us newbies navigate and getting started with the vault like we got for FinRev? No, we haven't got capacity to do like private one-on-one calls. We used to do private one-on-one calls, but the vault itself is complete simplicity, Lynn. If you're already set up on MetaMask, like if you've already got crypto and MetaMask, then it's just a case of connecting it to the vault. It's like two buttons that's fully explained in the thing. If it's the MetaMask that you need set up, well, if you're FinRev, then I guess you've already got that set up. So what you can do is go through all the group materials and then produce something written to say, I've read this, I've taken this action, this action, this action, and this action, and I'm not getting the promised output that I was told if I did take the actions. And then it's really easy to identify, okay, you need to do exactly this. And you can get that done through the group. Simon Horrell, I lost my MetaMask account. I put it back in and I can't get my Hyperliquid and see my funds. Anybody inside? I mean, Simon, how long have you been with us, dude? I mean, you probably know the support email address off by heart, man. Just send them an email, why wait until the live call? Does our wallet need to be? No, Miles, there's nothing about this at all. This is thinking up stuff that you don't need to think about, Miles. Okay. All right, time to move on from this then. Let's use the support network as it's provided. Okay. All right, so Maurizio, where are you at the moment? Because I mean, things are
Things are choppy, man. Like obviously, like I've been saying last week, especially with Easter, we've seen a lot of like, non-liquid stuff. It's a bunch of stuff that I bumped up, but I'm still watching the same ones that I'm watching. So we can go over those ones. I don't have much, to be honest. We can go through price action and what I see for this week, but it's a bunch of things happen. There is a few things to be aware this week that I'm going to go through, and then that's pretty much it. I'm just staying still in a way to see how the market reacts this week before I start making big decisions. That's where I'm at technically this week.
all right, great. So if we have a bit of a general market roundup, then kind of figure out where we are, the bits that you're looking at, and then I'll monitor in the chat if anybody's got any kind of, not like exactly teach me how to do this and fix my MetaMask wallet right now, Ian, type questions. But if anybody in the chat has got some kind of questions like, hey, I see in the welcome post, you've got this video on this. Could you talk to me a little bit more about this? Like if we've got any questions that you want Maurizio to deep dive into and you can be specific and they're related to stuff within 100x, then let's gather up some of those questions as we go.
Perfect. All right. So obviously for new people that join, we do this. I do manual trading, and we do all the sort of different, we do a lot of different other trades besides the Volt and besides the FinRev. Obviously, we need to be watching the markets pretty much every day to figure out is there any opportunities, short term, long term, and things like that. So that's kind of what we go through every single day. So let's get started. So give me 1 second. Let me just share my screen. All right. So first of all, I just want to ask you guys, how do you feel about Bitcoin at the moment? Do you think it's going to go? Do you think this is the bottom? Do you think you can go lower? Do you think we can go like this is now the time to start buying? What's you guys, what's your feeling around it? I just want to sort of sense the room, see where you guys at. And why do I watch Bitcoin? Obviously, now everything is so correlated to Bitcoin that this is kind of the index of where we're heading. So if we get the direction right on Bitcoin, more than likely is going to set us up for buying out, right? That's kind of what is happening lately. Okay, so all right, so let's have a look. Choppy roller coaster. Yep. Going to stay relatively flat for a while, continuing sideways, or hopefully it goes below 70 sideways. It looks like a new range. Yeah. All right. So probably, you guys, that's kind of the same thoughts that I do have, and we've been having this discussion since probably March, right? That we are sort of in a range, right? In a range market. There's a bunch of things that we need to be aware of in terms of I do not see any catalyst for Bitcoin to break up, right? Unless price action, right? People that actually drives or market makers in a way that wants to move the price up and down, and that's how the ranges behave, right? But in terms of big catalysts, right, especially with the tariffs and how the economy is working out with Trump and the tariffs and all that sort of stuff, there is still a lot of uncertainty, right, in terms of directionality to make big moves, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing at the moment, and the feeling and the big sort of people that actually do big bets and institutions, they sort of on the sidelines based on those sort of reactions, right? We want to wait until we get a little bit of like the tariffs, especially tariffs is a big deal. On the positive though, even though things are getting, like, think about it from the perspective, and this is where I'm at the moment. We're getting a lot of tariffs from China. China is not giving in, right? And then things are getting things are escalating, right? From that perspective, right? Trump says something, China says something else, and I do not think China is going to give in, like, to be honest. So things are going to escalate a little bit worse, right? The interesting thing is, even though things are getting worse from that perspective, Bitcoin is holding up, right? Even though, Bitcoin is holding out, so that could give you a really good idea that might be, we have a possibility that we can have a little bit of a bottom here, right? I definitely do not want to see things moving down from these lows here of the 75 range, 74, right? Ideally, we get back down to a 78. Probably this range, I'll be a heavy buyer of alts or Bitcoin. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Besides that, I mean, nowhere. Like, unless you do some kind of scalping intraday or things like that, I don't want to get positioned for long term sort of at this area, right? Because things could move quite quickly at any given time. So that's where I'm at in terms of Bitcoin. What I'm watching closely is the S&P 500, right? So we very, very close to the, like, very correlated to the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 right now, or the indexes, right, is actually leading the way. So the interesting things that I'll be watching this week that we do have earnings week, right? These big players like Tesla and Google, right, and that are going to report their earnings. What that means is, if they have positive, negative weeks and things like that, that will definitely affect the S&P 500. Why? Regardless, Tesla, Google, Nvidia, they are the biggest market cap on the S&P 500, right? So these three companies by themselves will move the S&P 500. You'll have the power to move the S&P 500. And the fact that we are so correlated to the S&P 500 right now with Bitcoin, then that's why I'm watching this very, very closely, right? And obviously, these are the only catalysts that I see for this week. So on positive news, then we can actually see a recovery of the S&P 500 a little bit, especially from Tesla, Google, and Nvidia. But on negative news, we might retest these lows again on the S&P 500. And if that happens, there is highly likelihood that Bitcoin will have a little bit of a dump, right? So we are, this area here, I've been talking about this area for a while, which is the 86,000 area, right? If we break, then there's a high likelihood that we continue. However, what happens if we break today? I wouldn't be too excited, to be honest, because we, like, pretty much big markets are closed, right? So any movements that happen today, or probably until tomorrow, they could be very, very choppy. So I'd rather not to do anything, to be honest. That's kind of my thinking. Okay, so yeah, Gary, like, it needs to. Yes, it does need to, but do you need to figure out what's the context on when it's going to happen? Can this happen today? Definitely, because markets are liquid, right? And then it could actually return quite back to here after it breaks. So be mindful of illiquid markets, right? Such as today. So yeah, you can actually see that this is today's price action, by the way, and this is the smallest. This is small time frame, 4 hours. So we just started this candle, which is the close of the day, like half an hour ago, roughly, and Bitcoin already is up. How much? Oh, it's 0.46%. So that's a big reaction from the open today. So I'd rather not trade that, especially for long-term stuff. So that's where I'm at in terms of Bitcoin. Watching pretty much the S&P 500 on open tomorrow. Let's see what the reaction looked like. And on the positive note, I don't know if you guys understand the VIX. And VIX, this is the volatility index, right? And there is a, we would really have a really good spike. And historically, right, when we do have huge spikes, right, and this is not a given, but then there there is a high correlation when we have a spike up, and when it comes back to normal, that the S&P 500 sort of reaches the local bottom at least, right? It's not that, you know, that it's going to stay, but this is a really good indicator that that could happen. So it's tracking good, right? So I'm towards bias. I'm biased towards the upside, right? But just be mindful that we do have volatility. So what does that mean? I wouldn't do any leverage positioning, right? I might definitely do any on the spot, but that's kind of in a sense where I'm at with the markets at the moment. So let's go through. So we have a look at Bitcoin. Let's have a look at total three. So total three, obviously this morning is reacting. But we're still in a bearish sort of structure, right? From the daily perspective, we're still sort of bearish. What we want to see is to start breaking to the upside, right? Like to have a daily from, like, in order to break this structure technically, right, we need to break these levels here, right? And then we start going to the upside. That's when I'm going to be a bit heavy buyer on alts, right? The downside is that on some alts, you're going to miss the bottom, which is quite okay. I'd rather just get the trend to the upside and not get chopped out, you know, especially with big positions and things like that. So that's where I'm at in terms of total three, but it's kind of looks okay though, but this could shift, and I don't want to see any price action, which, by the way, this is the last 4 days, 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and this is actually illiquid markets. Why? Because we kind of, all markets are closed at the moment, so have that in mind. This is technically only retail trading, people like you, like me, trading the markets, right? So there could be a lot of choppiness around here. Okay, so that's kind of, yeah, unless I see something really juicy, I don't going to do anything, to be honest. Ethereum, same deal. 1, 2, 3, 4 days. This is actually the weekend price action. Sorry, the Easter price action. So we're still on range, right? I don't want to trade any breakouts, to be honest. If it breaks and that has continuation, that's great. But if it doesn't, that's great too. I don't want to do anything on Ethereum. The one that I'm like the most is Solana. So Solana, I've been saying that is the only one that is actually getting the strongest sort of action out of it, right? Yes, today is a public holiday in Australia. ACX is closed, and obviously, you know, everything is closed at the moment. So we have Easter weekend. So that's kind of, yeah, I don't want to get caught up on those positions unless you're doing scalping. You know what I mean? Like that could be very profitable, by the way, in these kind of market conditions. So yeah, Solana is the only one that's sort of giving me a really good sort of buy to start breaking the structure to the upside, right? So let's see what happens in Solana. I wouldn't, like I say, even though if the Solana actually moves to the upside today or tomorrow, I wouldn't buy anything yet. Okay, we can have choppy conditions, and that's kind of where we at. Which, by the way, we still Solana from 95 anyway. So I have not rushed to add or do anything crazy with the Solana, but this is the one that I really like it. You know what I mean? So if you still are with us in the position that we have at 95, maybe it could be a really good buy at this stage, but then don't buy the whole lot. Just stagger your buys in case that you get a better price, right? So that could be the only one that I'm watching. Yeah, besides that, still tracking the ones that I took last week. So I'm talking Say. So Say now it looks like it wants to break structure. And the fact that I'm big on Say is because of the TVL. So the total value locked. Let me just show you. I'll show you this way. So if you go to DeFi Llama, right? This has a continuation on the chain that is actually it's still growing, which is pretty good. Like, let me just zoom out on this. This is since inception, kind of, right? Yep, 2023. So This is daily. If we go to the cumulative, right, it seems pretty good, man. Like, so what that means is at some point, right, at some point, there is a highly likelihood that say could come back at least to mean reversion, which is the 200 EMA usually, and that gives us a really, really good sort of upside, right? 104, and then perhaps continue to the upside, perhaps, who knows? But that was, we took this trade on leverage in September last week, one of the biggest trades that we had. So that's what I'm waiting for. So yeah, this is the one that I like the most. AI 16 said, same deal, guys. It is looking that is kind of getting there, right? We still haven't been able to break structure. Neil, and why I'm focusing on AI, let me just show you why. And this is kind of what I'm waiting for on these trades. So let's go to Velo. Oh, look at Bitcoin. All right. If we go to Velo data, the sector performance, like I was saying last week, we had meme, like the meme coin was actually driving the price, but now AI started breaking up, right? So no, the sector as such is actually breaking up. So anything that's on the like good projects with really good influx of capital and things like that. And I did talk about Nilian, and Nilian is a good project. It's just launched on the wrong time as usual. So there is a highly likelihood that this one will come back, right? This is fundamentally strong project, by the way. I don't see this one going to zero. I could be completely wrong, but then I want to definitely buy this one on spot. Same thing with Grass. So Grass is getting like, it's really freaking choppy, man. Like, look at this, look at this price action, but it hasn't been able to break this level here, the 1.48. So I really like that one. ONT, don't worry about it. We did talk about. Let me just move that to the bottom because we were talking about this one as a squeeze kind of trade. But I just want to highlight the ones that I'm going to be positioned heavily in the spot in the next couple of weeks, roughly. So Tau, I did like it. However, bear in mind that this price action is weekend price action. It looks very tempting to actually go long, like, to be honest. What I want to see is either a pullback, hold up, but I really like Tau. We talk about Tau, but the fact that this happened on an illiquid market, right? So we have the breakout on Friday, kind of break the structure on Friday, and on Saturday it had continuation. It gives me, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it in a way that we could get choppiness, but we might get better price, and if not, so be it. I'll take it when it breaks the structure and then sort of shift it to the outside. But I really, really like Tau. So that's kind of what I have for you guys. This is kind of the only ones that I'm watching closely, right? To get positioned, pretty heavy on those ones. So I've been tracking those ones quite a bit. Okay, so
Awesome, man.
something that I want to watch, that I want to show you, is something that I've been watching. I talk about on Friday a little bit. So I've been noticing on Twitter and things like that a bunch of projects that are being launched in terms of doing the same thing on Hyperliquid. So decentralized platforms that allows you to trade, and then you're gonna get points, and then you're gonna get an airdrop and things like that. And that's, we all know Hyperliquid was the biggest airdrop in history, right? We were talking about it for a while. So that being said, you missed Hyperliquid. I think there could be other opportunities as well that they could actually replicate the same. Is that going to be as juicy as Hyperliquid? I don't know, man. It's going to be very, very tough to match Hyperliquid performance and the airdrops and all the stuff that they've done. However, I'm going to keep an eye on those ones. So I'm going to give you some platforms that I think they could be really good on those perspectives. So the first one is this one is called Ostium, and they started a point based scheme for trading. So the interesting thing is, this is the way that this works is they require, like, these type of platforms, the way that they get run, they get money, investors and all that sort of stuff, is to allow people to trade, to create volume, right? So if you're going to do that type of stuff, you want to do and create volume, you can either, trade here directly, or you can actually just do a small trading, right? Very, very small trading. You don't even need to make money here, right? You just have to create volume. So if you open and close in about 5 seconds, that's volume. So that's kind of the stuff that they're looking for. The downside of the downside of goods, the good thing of downside is not even crypto related in a way, but you can actually trade with crypto, which is good. So you can use your collateral as a USDC to trade the regular markets, right? Like regular Forex or regular indexes and things like that. So this is kind of from the RWA perspective. So this is one of them. Then we do have another one that is called Mass. It's doing very similar. It's for your mobile and things like that to try to, to get volume of it. They do have a points program as well. And the other one that this is the one that I like the most, Lida. The downside of Lida is that they closed the beta version. However, I'm talking to the team to see if we can actually get a code or something, because this is the one that it looks like, it could be the most prominent, the one that is gaining more traction on the social aspect of it, because at the end of the day, is the marketing, is how they market this, how many people are trading, that is going to take that sort of, the more people they trade, the more fees and the more points you get and things like that. And then a juicier airdrop at the end of, who knows, a year, Oh, by the way, Hyperliquid took like a year and a half to get airdrop. So this is something that's going to happen quickly. So they require people to trade. So, but if you do a small trade here and there for 1 or 2 days a week, you're gonna earn points, and then at some point you're gonna get something. How good it's gonna be, who knows? But this is kind of what I want to show you guys. So yeah. Besides that, I have nothing else for you guys today. So there's nothing very, very juicy, but things are lining up. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. Unless you have it.
Man, really, really awesome.
Let's see if we have any questions.
Skimming through the questions, but kind of visual narrative went on. You covered a lot of the the general questions that were being asked. Martin's got a good question. Does the rest of the world celebrate Easter on Monday as far as financial markets go? That's a really good question, Martin. I don't know. But... Yeah,
no, they do. Like, there's a lot of holidays as well on Monday, so across the world. So for instance, today is holiday here in Australia, right? And it is, so that's why I don't want to trade anything on Monday. You know what I mean? Like, wait for the week to develop before I start making any big decisions, right? So yeah. Miles, can you please go over the indicators you used in Velo? Yeah, let's do that. That would be a good one. Okay, so in Velo data, things that I'm looking for is the open interest. So let me just make this bigger. All right, so the aggregated open interest. So the way that you add this one is you go to indicators and you say open interest, right? And then you do the aggregated. What is the difference between the open interest and the aggregated? The open interest is if you're looking, if you have the chart loaded on Bybit, the open interest is only going to give you the open interests on Bybit. The aggregated one is going to add Binance, Hyperliquid, I guess. So I think the Velo added Hyperliquid as well, and Bybit. Yeah, the three of them. So they're gonna sum it up. Is the cumulative of the three. So that's why I use the aggregated, because it gives you a broad perspective of the market itself. So that's one, right? The other one that I use is aggregated funding rate. So the funding rate is, the funding rate is one of the mechanisms that we use to trade the vault, right? As David was mentioning. So this is to gauge where the price is usually, if it is who's paying what. So on a positive funding rate, essentially, on a positive funding rate, shorts are getting paid, yes. And on the negative, longs are getting paid. So, or you pay or vice versa, right? So I'm just gauging this. And then we do have the liquidation. So this is pretty important as well. This is the one that I watch the most, that should be, should be like this in order of importance. So, and the liquidations, what that means, if you do the liquidation, same thing here, you say liquidations, right? You have two types, the liquidations and the aggregated, same deal. Liquidations is going to give you only the liquidation from the exchange that you're looking at here, but the aggregated one is going to give you the liquidations across the three exchanges that Velo Data has data on, right? Which is Binance, Bybit, and Hyperliquid so far. Okay, so this is an interesting price action to watch. Why? We're watching at this in 4 hours, and as you can see, that we are having some liquidations at the moment to the upside, right? So essentially, what that means is people that went short, who knows where, they could have gone short here, they could have gone short here, and if they went short too heavy, they're going to get liquidated, right? And this is what happened at the moment. So you can go back in the welcome post. We do talk about a little bit how to trade this, but it's one of those things that is very helpful to watch, right? So when you combine liquidations with funding rates, that's when you can actually sort of gauge the direction of the market, at least on a short-term sort of perspective. This is not for long-term, because sentiment could actually shift quite quickly, right? So this is kind of the indicators that I use technically, right? They're very, very helpful on lower time frames. So if you zoom in on like 1 hour, like even 10, 15 minutes, they're very, very accurate on that perspective when you start reading these things properly, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps. And yeah, that's kind of the whole explanation of how you use these ones.
Awesome. That's really great. So that's a good call today, Maurizio. I think
Thank you.
We'll now about 45 minutes. Thank you, everybody, today, and happy Easter. And don't forget that Maurizio does his daily video update, and also Scott's daily email. Like he's always telling you what he's thinking's happening, the market conditions. So that's definitely something to hone in on. All right. All the best, everybody. Ta-da.
All right, guys, have a good one.